pick your battles.
What is going on, good people? Excuse me, I need a sip of my coffee real quick. Man, I'm on a roll here. I'm doing like 2 videos over the course of a week. I need to get a little bit more consistent with that, and that is another one of my New Year's resolutions for growing this channel. I believe last year this time I said my New Year's resolution was to get this channel to about 500 followers. I've fallen about 300 short. It's okay. It's cool. It's a work in progress. I think what I need to do is, I have a buddy of mine from high school, and I'm not going to name drop him. He's a very famous YouTuber, has like 3 million subs, and fortunately he lives just about 40 minutes away from me, and I reach out to him from time to time just to talk and catch up, but I haven't seen him in person in quite a while. But I think I need to meet up with him and pick his brain a little bit, because the man just, I've kind of taken to calling him Midas, because everything he touches turns to gold. Has real estate businesses that do really well for him, and all sorts of other businesses that he runs. He's big into sports cards and sports memorabilia. But the man he's a phenomenal dude. But if he'd have told me back in high school that one of us, it would have been famous, of course I wouldn't have thought it was going to be me, but if he'd have told me it had been him, I'd have been like... But looking back on it, it tracks, because he just has one of those personalities. He's just very charismatic, very gregarious, and if you're around him more than 5 minutes, you can't help but like the guy, which probably has something to do with why he is YouTube famous. He's told me more than once that he'd like to meet up and have dinner and chop it up, talk about old times and the old hometown, and I may just do that. A, because I want to see him, and B, because I just want to ask him, how the hell did you do it, bro? Dude, like right now, the idea of even having like 5,000 subs is just like... But it can be done. It can be done. I know there's a lot of new YouTubers out there that, that we all want the same thing. I don't know if we necessarily all want to be like big YouTube famous, but the idea of being able to do it for a living and not have to trudge on into our daily grind, man, that is phenomenal. Excuse me, I got to lean off camera for a second to scratch my nose, but it's totally going to look like I'm digging a bug. I wasn't digging a bug, I promise. Anyway, in my last video, I told you all how I finally did it. That I cleaned up my video game collection and did the Great Purge of 2024, a year that will live on in infamy, right? And I'm pretty proud of myself. So far, there have been no regrets. I don't regret a single bit of it. I've been told by other people that have done the same that are like, oh man, I wished I'd have held on to this. I wish I'd have held on to that. I think the only game I've ever gotten rid of that I really truly wish I would have held on to was one of my 2 copies of Rule of Rose that I had at one point. Oh well, live and learn. But the rest of it, not so much. In the last video, I did tell you that if a game didn't meet 1 or 2 criteria, I was going to keep it. It either had to be something I seriously could see myself playing, that really spoke to me with its premise, or, and this is actually going to be the bulk of my games, believe it or not, they're going to be ones that just I have a nostalgic attachment to, and I've just had so much fun. One of those that I have kept is a couple of the Guitar Hero games on PlayStation 2, and I just today hooked up my PlayStation 2 to my little retro CRT set along with my NES and a VHS player. So that is my tower of oldness. It would look way cooler than it does, except that when I was setting it all up, it had being the key word here, 2 glass doors. But I was reaching around it trying to pick up something, and I'm sitting in my 1940s steel manufacturing plant chair, and when I sat down on it, it caught the edge of the glass and just busted everywhere. My little boy, he was in the room with me, and he's just got the sweetest little heart. And a lot of little kids have been like, hi, and would bust up laughing. His first thing is like, Daddy, are you okay? And I'm just like, I love you, kid. Like, he just has one of those hearts, and I hope he always keeps it. He's just such a sweet little kid. But yeah, I was okay, but now I have a TV stand that's missing a door, is what it is. I'll probably replace it at some point. But getting back to the topic at hand. I'm sorry, y'all. My mental train has a bad tendency to derail, in case you hadn't figured that out by now. But I want to go ahead and dive into the games I kept. I'm not going to go through them one by one. I'm going to kind of just do a panning view, and I'm going to discuss a few of them and why I kept them, just to give you an idea. And I think if you are like I was, and like Iowa Retro Gamer Dad was, the sort that you're in there, you're in the thrift shops, you're in the game shops, you're online, you're buying all the time. If you're not playing those games and you're not selling those games, I would encourage you to maybe just kind of pump the brakes a little bit and ask if this is really serving you. Because one thing I can tell you for a fact, there's no amount of crap that will ever actually make you happy. End of the day, it's going to be your family, your friends, your memories, doing good for other people. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that are going to make you happy. But with that said, on with the video games that I got rid of and the ones that I kept show. So let's get into it. The games, again, I do have a fair amount still, but I'm a purge yet. I don't think that I can go too much farther, because for the most part, everything does fall into the category of things I either want to play or just have a lot of meaning to me, a lot of nostalgia. I did keep all of my PSP games, reason being that, as you can see, I don't have that many. The Xbox One and Xbox Series X, I kind of keep them all lumped together. I am on a weird little thing, though, as far as I will still collect some games. And one little subset I like is the PlayStation VR. I'm not going to collect all of them, but there's quite a few that I do enjoy or would look forward to playing if I had a chance. One is called Daracene or Duracene. I haven't been able to find it anywhere. As soon as I do, I will probably buy it. I did trim down my Xbox collection, my OG. But again, like black, that is never not fun. That is just straight up gun porn if you've ever played it. ESPN NFL 2K5, outside of Tecmo Super Bowl, I think this is the single greatest football game that's ever been made. And my late Aunt D bought me a copy for Dreamcast, and I love my Aunt D. She was such a sweet lady. God rest her soul. So again, I have that nostalgic connection to it. Indigo Prophecy. That was the game that started my love of the Quantic Dream games. The Outlaw Golf series are just freaking hilarious. And I get down in my PlayStation 3 here. I had way more than I do now. I did keep some of the pricier ones, but I didn't keep them because they're pricey necessarily. I kept them because I do want to play some of them. Like Fat Princess, Tokyo Jungle, Blitz 2 The League. That's another pricey one, but again, Brutal Legend. Arguably my favorite game that I played on the PlayStation 3, even though it is multiplat. I grew up an 80s kid, love 80s rock, and you can play the game without having that point of reference. But if you grew up in the 80s and you know a lot of those old great hair bands, there's a lot of little Easter eggs in here that you'll catch that make it a lot more fun. Then the entire God of War series on PlayStation 3. Heavy Rain. Another pricey one that I kept, Lollipop Chainsaw. I actually got this one for $15 used from Game Exchange, and I bought it because it was one of the last games that I ever read a review of in an actual paper magazine, physical magazine. I was like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. And it was. I need to go revisit it sometime. Then one of the Spider-Man games, Twisted Metal. Again, you can see, I kept a lot of quality titles. I didn't just keep a bunch of filler. Now, as far as PlayStation 2 goes, one subset of games that I do love collecting for is pinball games. So I got pinball there, the Williams Collection, Pinball Hall of Fame. Where's this one called Flipnik, which I may have referenced once before in another video, but it's kind of like pinball off the rails. I'll show you. I'm not a big PlayStation 1 collector, but what I do have, you'll see, again, Kiss Pinball, Pro Pinball, Big Race, Pro Pinball, Fantastic Journey. I am a big pinball guy. I think I even kept, with my 360 games, Pinball, the Williams collection, and then there's some in PS4 and Xbox One as well. Another I keep using the word subset. I think I'm using that without quite understanding the proper use of it, but absolutely adore these old Xbox official magazine demo discs. Actually got 2 copies of this. To me, those things, and that's why I have a few of the jam packs as well for PlayStation 2, those things are like digital time capsules. They are so much fun to boot up and go through and just to kind of see where gaming culture was at the time that they were made. Because it was an interesting time. Arguably, outside, I grew up in the 80s, obviously, but outside of that, those early 2000s, when the internet hadn't quite yet taken over everything, it's arguably my favorite era of gaming as a whole. Another thing I made it a point to keep, even though I'm not a big Call of Duty guy, I am a sucker for steelbooks. Like, y'all don't understand. Not even a big Gears of War fan, but that is a badass steelbook set. Same for Halo 3. This one for Madden 2009, Mass Effect, yada, yada, yada. But you can see, and then again, as I said before, I did keep all of my NES games. I have like 90 some odd of them. I initially only meant to buy about 50, but there are quite a few that I had forgotten about that I absolutely loved, so I picked them up. And I did not part with any of the Nintendo, none of my DS, 3DS, Wii, Switch, and that primarily is because when it comes to Nintendo, I never really bought fillers because you can't afford to buy fillers, especially even Switch fillers are just like stupid expensive. So yeah, if you're buying a Nintendo game, it's more of an investment. You don't really do like impulse buys with Nintendo games. And kept my PC version of vanilla World of Warcraft. I played this back in the day for about 3 months. I started, here, let me put Master Chief back. I started on that game as one of the healing class, I believe a priest, and he was a pain in the butt to level up. And after 3 months, it really got to where everything was just so tedious. It was like I felt like I was just trying to grind and level up for no particular reason. I never felt like I was really advancing a story. So I just stopped, but I did keep that. I didn't even mean to. I just shoved it in the back of a filing cabinet and found it not too long ago. I'm like, well, that'd make a good shelf piece, Never had it in television, but man, I love those old 80s games artworks that they used to put on them. They would make the games look like they were so much more epic than they actually were. And then my little girl, back when she was a little girl, I love her so much. And that was that. That is what I have. I think I total have now about, I'm guessing, like 400 games total. It's very possible that I have more than that. I'm going to recount them at some point, and I'm going to ideally try to make sure that I always keep myself underneath the 500 mark, which to some people does sound like a lot of games, but for me, compared to what I did have, it's not, and that number's a lot more manageable. So I am probably going to have to make some difficult decisions on paring it down even farther. I think that I can do it. I think they're probably, of those games, even though they all fit one of my 2 criteria, if I really, really pressed the matter and thought very deeply about whether or not I want to play them, I could probably find 100 or so that I could stand to get rid of, and more than likely going to do that. But because I just recently did a major purge, I'm not in any particular hurry to do it. These games aren't taking so much space up that they're a bother, so for now, they're safe. Probably not always going to be the case. I did talk about adding certain games, certain like little subsets, and like the demo discs and the PlayStation VR games, that sort of thing. And a good thing about like those type of things, there's not really a whole lot of them. So even if you had like complete runs of them, still not a lot. But moving forward, anytime I'm going to add to, I am going to make it a rule that I have to take from. If I add 2, lose 2. Add 3, lose 3. And that's just how I'm going to have to keep it, because I do not want to fall back into that addiction of buying and collecting and just amassing crap that I'm never going to have any use for and that don't serve any particular purpose. I'm thinking, and I believe I may even apply that to my comic book collection. I don't know. Compared to a lot of comic book collectors, I don't have a lot. I think I have, if you're a comic collector, you understand these terms. I think I have 1.5 long boxes total. Again, I don't want anything to basically have any sort of sway over me in terms of collectibles. I don't know what it is about collectibles that just they can really drive you. It's like, and that's whether it's coins or stamps. You know, if you're really anything that can become a passion can become an addiction, and you do have to be really careful to set up limitations for yourself and to set rules to keep that from happening. Anyway, you all, I think I'm about to hop off of here and fire up Guitar Hero on the PlayStation 2 because I have not played it in so many years. I think I'm overdue. Anyway, as always, y'all, pick your battles because not every hill is worth dying on. I will catch you on the next one. Oh, and by the way, if you feel so inclined and you haven't already done so, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe button. Maybe even hit the bell if you're feeling really froggy. I would greatly appreciate it. I would love to grow this channel. This is a labor of love for me, and I'm admittedly not great at it yet, but I'm going to get there. I'm working on it. Hopefully, maybe even with some good advice from my YouTube famous buddy from high school. Might just happen this year. Anyway, peace out. Well, I have this green bodysuit from several Halloweens ago laying around, and it recently occurred to me, wait a minute, it's the same shade of green as my green screen. I could probably use this to have some fun. Look, everybody, I'm Fireman, which is, not to say like a fireman, like putting out fires, but, like a dude that's on fire. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun with this.